On a warm August night in 1981, at exactly 12:01 a.m., a rocket blasted off on TV screens across America as MTV launched from a scrappy New York studio with the Buggles' Video Killed the Radio Star. 2 years later, Michael Jackson's 14-minute Thriller, packed with zombies and a Vincent Price rap, shattered the channel's rock-only barriers and turned music videos into cinematic events. So how did one small cable channel rewrite an entire generation's culture?
Welcome to Top Spot 40 Music Docuseries, where we bring the stories behind the music to life.
It was a warm summer evening in 1981, and something electric was about to happen. In living rooms across America, teenagers and their parents gathered around the new cable box, not quite sure what they were about to see. Then, at exactly 12:01 a.m. on August 1st, a crisp countdown appeared on the screen, followed by pictures of astronauts planting a flag on the moon. But this wasn't NASA, this was MTV. And the first image that greeted the world was a rocket blasting off, carrying with it a brand new era in music. The song that ushered it all in was Video Killed the Radio Star by the Buggles. How perfect that choice feels now. Those opening synths still give you chills, don't they? In that single moment, music stopped being invisible. It stepped out of the radio speaker and walked right into our homes, wearing bright colors, wild hair, and unforgettable attitude. Before MTV, music videos existed, but they were mostly promotional afterthoughts, shown late at night on programs like Don Kirshner's Rock Concert. Most artists treated them like commercials. Then suddenly, this scrappy little channel out of New York City decided videos would be the main event. They hired a handful of young, enthusiastic video jockeys, real people with real personalities, to introduce the clips and talk to the audience like friends. There was the warm and witty Martha Quinn, the cool and collected Mark Goodman, the stylish Nina Blackwood, the rock and roll rebel J.J. Jackson, and the charming Alan Hunter. These VJs became as famous as the musicians they featured. They were our tour guides into a dazzling new world. The early days of MTV were gloriously chaotic. The channel didn't have nearly enough videos to fill 24 hours, so they played the same ones over and over again. But what videos they were. You couldn't turn away. Suddenly, bands that understood the power of the screen began to dominate. British acts like Duran Duran, Culture Club, and the Eurythmics arrived like beautiful invaders. They looked like they had stepped out of fashion magazines, and their videos felt like mini-movies. Simon Le Bon and the boys from Duran Duran cruising on yachts in Antigua for Rio, Boy George in all his flamboyant glory, Annie Lennox with her fiery red hair and commanding presence. These images traveled straight into the hearts and closets of American teenagers. Then came Michael Jackson. In 1983, everything changed again. When MTV first started, it leaned heavily toward rock, and some black artists struggled to get their videos played. But that all shifted the moment Billie Jean appeared. The moonwalk on Motown 25 had already made the world fall in love with Michael, but it was the Thriller video that became a cultural earthquake. 14 minutes long, directed by John Landis, complete with zombies, a Vincent Price rap, and choreography so sharp it could cut glass. Families gathered around televisions the way they once gathered for favorite TV shows. Thriller wasn't just a music video, it was an event. It broke down barriers, proved that black artists belonged at the center of the conversation, and showed that videos could be big-budget cinematic experiences. After Thriller, MTV could never go back to the way it was. And then there was Madonna. She burst onto the scene with a confidence that felt revolutionary. In Borderline and Lucky Star, she danced in chunky jewelry and lace, mixing street style with something almost sacred. By the time Like a Virgin came along, she had become a lightning rod and a role model at the same time. Young women watched her and saw permission to be bold, to express themselves, to take up space. The Material Girl didn't just sing songs, she created a persona that millions of girls imitated, from the rubber bracelets to the messy hair and unapologetic attitude. The creativity pouring out of these videos was astonishing. Aha gave us the groundbreaking animation in Take On Me, where pencil sketches came to life in a way that still feels magical. Dire Straits painted a hilarious portrait of rock star excess in Money for Nothing, complete with computer-generated characters that looked like nothing we'd seen before. Peter Gabriel brought us the haunting stop-motion beauty of Sledgehammer, a video so visually rich that it felt like stepping inside a dream. These clips weren't just selling records, they were expanding what was possible in visual storytelling. For those of us who lived through it, MTV became the soundtrack and the scrapbook of our youth. It shaped fashion in ways we still smile about today. Suddenly, everyone wanted those oversized shoulder pads, those brightly colored jackets with the sleeves pushed up, those chunky belts and big hair that defied both gravity and logic. The channel turned musicians into style icons. You didn't just listen to Prince, you wanted to dress like him, move like him, embody that beautiful, untamed mystery he carried so effortlessly. Whitney Houston's elegance in her power ballads showed us glamour and strength at the same time. Bruce Springsteen, the working-class hero from New Jersey, looked like the guy next door in Dancing in the Dark, yet his videos carried the weight of real emotion. The cultural ripple effects went far beyond music. MTV helped define the 1980s in the same way Hollywood defined the 1930s. It fed our hunger for escapism during a time of economic uncertainty and Cold War tension. While the news talked about recession and nuclear fears, we could flip on MTV and watch Cyndi Lauper declaring that girls just want to have fun, or join the party in celebration with Kool and the Gang. The channel created a shared visual language for an entire generation. Kids in small towns who had never been to New York or Los Angeles suddenly felt connected to the bigger world. They saw different cultures, different fashions, different ways of being. In its own way, MTV made the world feel a little smaller and a lot more exciting. Of course, it wasn't all perfect. As the decade rolled on, some videos pushed boundaries that made parents nervous. There were debates about explicit content, about the way women were sometimes portrayed, about the increasing emphasis on image over substance. The channel responded with initiatives like Rock Against Drugs and by creating countdown shows that families could watch together. Through it all, MTV remained a cultural mirror, reflecting both our dreams and our controversies. One of the channel's finest hours came in 1985 with Live Aid. When Bob Geldof organized the massive benefit concert for African famine relief, MTV broadcast the entire 16-hour event to millions of homes. Phil Collins famously played in both London and Philadelphia on the same day, thanks to the miracle of the Concorde. The images of Bono pulling a young girl from the audience during Bad, or Freddie Mercury commanding 72,000 people at Wembley like a benevolent emperor, became permanent memories. Music wasn't just entertainment anymore. It had become a force for global good, and MTV helped make that possible. As the 80s drew to a close, the channel that had started with so little was now a cultural powerhouse. It had turned music videos into an art form, launched countless careers, and helped create the modern pop star. It had also changed the music industry itself. Record companies began budgeting for videos the way they budgeted for albums. Image became just as important as sound. Some critics worried that talent might take a backseat to looks, but the truth was more complicated. Many genuinely great artists, from REM to U2 to the Talking Heads, used the visual medium to deepen their art rather than dilute it. Looking back now with the gentle wisdom that comes with time, it's clear that MTV didn't really kill the radio star. It gave music a whole new way to live. Those of us who were there remember the thrill of rushing home after school, grabbing a snack, and flipping on the television to see what new wonder had arrived. We remember the way our hearts would race when that familiar MTV logo appeared, promising us another 3 minutes of escape, inspiration, or pure fun. The 80s eventually faded, as all decades do. The hair got smaller, the shoulder pads came off, and MTV itself would evolve into something quite different in the decades that followed. But that golden era when everything felt possible, when creativity exploded across our television screens in living color, when music and pictures came together to create something entirely new. That moment still shines in our memories like a perfectly lit music video. And perhaps that's the most beautiful thing about it. Even now, all these years later, when we hear certain songs, we don't just hear them, we see them. We see Michael gliding backward across the stage, Madonna rolling around on the floor in her wedding dress, the animated figures of a-ha racing through their pencil sketch world. The pictures and the music became one in our minds, and they have stayed that way ever since. That, dear friends, is the lasting gift of MTV and the 80s. It taught us that music was never meant to be invisible. It was always meant to be seen, felt, celebrated, and shared with the whole world. And for one bright, glorious decade, we got to watch that dream play out in living color, one unforgettable video at a time.
Thank you for joining us for Top Spot 40 Music Docuseries. Discover all the stories behind the music at topspot40.com. Until next time, keep the music playing.